Israel's government, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, has set off protests and controversy with plans to impose changes to the judicial system. Now, Israel's central bank governor has weighed in on this, and he's cautiously making comments around the debate. Simone Foxman has more. So what was Governor Amir Yaron's message here, Simone?
Yeah, he typically stays out of politics, but he made these comments at a meeting of the Parliamentary Finance Committee yesterday, and he warned about the potential impact to Israel's credit rating. This echoing some of the calls that we've heard by other economists. In fact, dozens of economists have written various op-eds, including senior government officials, warning of the potential impact to Israel's credit rating of these judicial reforms. JP Morgan has mentioned it. And essentially what Yaron said here in his first public comments was credit rating agencies look for strong and independent institutions, so it's important to ensure the continued maintenance of these characteristics. Remember, the changes that the Netanyahu coalition wants include allowing the parliament to, in certain cases, overrule decisions made by the country's highest court. They give the parliament final say on which judges can be appointed. Critics say that this erodes the independence of the judicial branch. Supporters say the judiciary has overreached in recent years, but clearly the tech sector feeling is very much against these reforms. And we've seen protests continuing to happen in the streets with thousands of people turning out in Tel Aviv to protest these reforms.
And banks in Lebanon will close in an open-ended general strike starting today. So what is the latest on the country's financial position?
Yeah, they'll close. And this really a protest of the lack of progress that the government has made in introducing its own reforms and completing the steps that the IMF says it needs to receive foreign funding. So this isn't a complete closure of the banks. ATMs will still be working. They'll still accept a certain degree of checks. But I think the idea here is to really send a message to the country's leadership. There's a meeting going on Friday by some of the main donor countries. Actually unclear if Lebanese representatives have been invited, but this is going to be in France to representatives from the United States, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from Egypt, to talk about what's next for Lebanon. But right now, we have a caretaker government, we have no president, and there seems like no political will to impose a lot of the demands that the IMF wants. The one thing that has been imposed in the last couple of days is the change to the exchange rate, going from 1,500 lira to the US dollar to 15,000. That's still well below the black market rate of 62,000. And to add insult to injury, the shocks from the Turkish earthquake were felt in Lebanon, and so some people left their homes, were sleeping in their cars. Just a terrible situation, physically as well as one where you feel all this economic pressure.